channel She's This Happiness, where I share all things sewing related with you. And this channel is predominantly a channel where I talk to you about my sewing and dressmaking, but I do have other hobbies as well, and I do enjoy a wide array of crafts when I get the time to indulge them. And I asked in a previous video if anyone would be interested in seeing some of the cross stitch projects that I had been working on throughout the month of March and have now finished. And a few of you commented and said yes, you'd be interested in seeing those. So this is a Flosstube video, and I've never done a Flosstube in my life. And from what I see about Flosstube, it's usually people who are working on, you know, lots and lots of different projects at once, and I don't do that. I'm a one project at a time kind of girl. So this is not your standard Flosstube where you'll see progress reports as we go along, because I am, as I say, one thing at a time. I'm an all or a nothing kind of person, so my focus tends to be on one project alone. And that's the same for my dressmaking too, because a lot of people always talk about they've got all these discarded works in progress. I don't have that. I am a single thought, single directed person. The only way the multiples come into play is because I dabble in so many different crafts, whether it be knitting, paper crafting, you know, whatever it is. I'll only have one project going on in that craft alone. So I started cross stitch the same time I started dressmaking. So it would have been just before the summer of 2020, when the world was forced to stop, to pause, to take notice, I guess. And for me, that's really what the lockdown represented. The pandemic was an opportunity for me to just reassess my life, reassess my values, and slow down. I've always been career-minded, career-driven, but at a certain point you have to realize that there are consequences to that which can be damaging to you as an individual, just in terms of being merely exhaustive, having a poor effect on your mental health. It forces you to think, you know, externally a lot rather than internally, and thinking what you need and what it is that suits you best and serves your purpose of existence. And I'd always in the back of my head wanted to learn how to sew. You know, it was idealized for me growing up when you hear like the older members of the family talking about the wedding dresses they would have sewn, or the party dresses they would have made to go to, you know, a dance. And I always thought it sounded so idyllic and so beautiful and so wholesome, and yet I just never had the time to indulge it. Any spare time I had, which would literally have been like an hour before bedtime, I would have knitted, and that would have been something that I really did enjoy. But dressmaking was just a fascination, and I had this idea that to learn how to dressmake I'd need to go to classes, I'd need time for classes. And then I realized that actually any learning that I've done throughout my life, whether it be formal education or not, has been self-driven. And why would dressmaking be any different? So I suppose it was just by getting into the dressmaking side of things that I would then see other little projects pop up that people were working on, because creatives are never just solely, you know, they don't have one skill, they generally have a lot. And I saw a couple of lovely cross stitch projects pop up in the feed, and I was like, do you know what, that looks really nice, that's a nice thing to do. And that summer the weather was great, so we were all off work. And when I say off work, I just mean I wasn't going to the office because I wasn't off work. But what I learned was no commuting time. There was an hour I was getting back every single day, sometimes more depending on traffic. Lunchtime, there was a second hour I had in my day, and instead of using it for the purposes of work, which is what I usually would have done, my lunch break, I barely ever look up from my computer. Even today, it's the same. I barely even get to look up, let alone eat. So, you know, people will comment on that quite a lot. It's just a luxury at the moment I can't afford, but that's not a good practice, and I am aware of that, and when I can, I'll fix it. But yeah, I just started to think mindfully about all those moments that I had in my day, and I started doing things like cross stitch. And I have to say, it is one of the most pleasurable, one of the most simple crafts that I've ever picked up. It requires no skill to get started, basic supplies. There's just so many designs that you can pick and choose from, so many artists, and I just thought there was so much potential there. And I have found it's almost meditative, the act of cross stitching, you know, little squares, little X's, is incredibly meditative. It forces you to slow down, it forces you to kind of switch off, which is something that isn't very easy for me, I have to admit. So yeah, that's where it started. Now, I've picked up an awful lot more now in the last kind of like year, 2 years. And also, you know, I have subscriptions such as Cotton and Twine, which is kind of like giving me a constant feed of cross stitch projects and supplies. But no, I thoroughly enjoy it. And throughout the month of March was a very productive month for me in terms of dressmaking. You might have seen my past videos, but also for the cross stitching as well. So when little Henry goes to sleep, you know, I've got a couple of hours in the evening, and I don't tend to go and sew clothes, because the only time I really like to do dressmaking is if I have a day off work, which isn't the weekend. I do a little bit of stitching on the weekend sometimes, depending on weather. So if the weather's great, we all head out. If it's not, I can negotiate 4 or 5 hours in my weekend to sew. But it's generally my day off, which is a Friday, is when I do any dressmaking. And I think that's just me. I'm programmed to want to start a thing and see it through, rather than do a 15-minute here, 30-minute there, which is what I used to do. But it's just, I think motherhood has changed my entire daily schedule. So this is what works best for me now. But yeah, the stitching I can pick up every night, and it's no effort to do so. I guess I'll just show you what it was I finished off then in the month of March. So the first thing I would have made, I'm trying to think back in terms of order, I think it would have been the Cotton and Twine cross stitch subscription box for the month of February, which was this really, really cute Easter design, which came on a little easel, and it's these beautiful little Easter bunnies, and it's finished just on some Liberty fabric. And yeah, it has sat out over the month of March until Easter passed, and now it's time to pop it away for a new year. But I just thought that the colours of this little design were beautiful. This might actually be one of my favourite designs from Cotton and Twine in the last wee while. And I tend to be like that. There's certain ones that just really work for me, and this was definitely one of them. Lovely little blossoms. So I think you'll probably see a theme in my kind of, you know, preferences when I stitch projects. You know, for a 40-year-old woman, they're maybe not the most sophisticated or adult themed things. They tend to be more on the cute side. So the next one I finished was this, trying to think of the artist's name, Kate Garrett. It was a Bothy Threads kit, and I think the design was by Kate Garrett. And it's this lovely little I Love Sewing, which needs a little press. And it has these gorgeous little sewing mice on there. And obviously this is one to go into my sewing space once I get it framed up. Oops. Now, the next one is a little vintage pattern. So again, this is something I do. I will buy lots of older kits like Country Companions and things, but I came across this lovely vintage Oliver Otter by Kate Phil, which is like mummy and baby otter having a little nap time wrapped in their little patchwork blanket, and I just thought it was so cute, and it just appealed to the mummy in me. So that was the next one I completed. Now, and again, this is just me. My favourite cross-stitch artist, not that she was a cross-stitch artist, my favourite artist that is translated into cross-stitch is Margaret Sherry. I just find her little collection to be so fun, so sweet, just absolutely innocent and adorable. And the next one that I made was this little cat with its ball of wool, again because the knitter in me thought this would look really, really nice, and just needs a little bit more steam to get that middle crease out, but this is one to pop up in the sewing room as well. Really cute. Again, there's my voice going. This was an old vintage pattern that I picked up, well, vintage kit that I picked up, well, secondhand somewhere, probably on eBay or something. Yeah, really, really sweet. And I think it's one of the old Heritage Crafts kits. So I just need to finish off the back with a little bit of fabric to cover up my haphazard stitching. I'm not like the tidiest of stitchers. I stitch just for the fun of it and not for the process of being perfect. So pretty much the exact opposite to how I dressmake, where everything has to be meticulous. So after that, I think I'm on the last one. My last finish for the month was, let me just get to the details, because I have the wee kit page sitting here somewhere. Yes, it's just called Home of a Stitcher, and it's by Little Dove Designs. Again, this is for the little sewing room, so this is where all these little bits and pieces are going. But I just think the colours here are absolutely gorgeous. Now, I have made a grave error in the stitching of this, and when I say actually, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't 100% my fault. So I was following the codes of the threads, and I realized after I stitched the roof that it just seemed a little pale compared to the image that I had referenced. But it turns out that the two colors of grey threads, which you can see here, were actually on the card the wrong way round. And I just took it for granted it was correct rather than checking them. I went for it. But I don't think it completely ruins the look of that little design. I kind of really love that little scalloped edge, but I'm thinking just here, these little inserts, like really cute little daisies might look really sweet. I just keep seeing daisies. So where you have these little yellow stitches, I think I might surround them in white stitches just to make it stand out a little bit. So that was that. I have one in progress, which will get completed hopefully in April. It'll be the only thing I complete in April because the month has been a work write-off. And it's this gorgeous little forest animal design. So again, this is a Bothy Threads kit. It's called Story Time. And as I am a librarian and a PhD in literature, I mean, how could I not stitch up these little fellows? So I actually think I'll put this in my office in the library once I get it framed. I think it's really, really sweet and I cannot wait. I just have a little bit to do. I've got the background shading to do along this side. There are some little gaps which you might see, and that's because in the kit there wasn't enough of a shade. So I've contacted Bothy and asked them to send out just a little because I'm not sure what threads they're using. So I just need a little to finish off a few little bits and pieces. But we're talking like no more than 30 little squares. So it's not a huge deal. And then I'll backstitch this lovely little design. Can't wait. I think it's really, really sweet. And in the illustration of the kit itself, it just says Story Time. But I think I might actually think out a different quote, something a little bit more meaningful for that one. So that's my March and current stitching, but let me just share a couple of things that I have here with you as well. So by the way, these wonderful things, these are my project bags that I now make for all of my projects, and they have been incredible just to help me keep everything tidy and organized. And I'm going to have to make some more. I mean, I have 4 or 5, and I made one for a friend who cross stitches as well. But I do want to make a few more because they just are brilliant to kind of file everything away, keep them really tidy, and then just lift a design and go. And because we have the caravan, that's what I did when we were going away last weekend. I just lifted one and I went. Saying that, you know, I didn't stitch much. If I stitched about 50 squares, that was about it. So yeah, that didn't work out too well. There was just lots to do. And when I'm at the coast, I like to be out and about as much as I possibly can, just for the fresh air. I love it. So 2 more designs then that I've got to keep me going. I've actually got lots of lovely things, and if it's something you'd like to see, some of the stuff that I just have finished or some of the kits I have ready to go, let me know. But this month, these have been my treats. So another Bothy Threads kit, which I can't wait to do. Again, knitting themed. This one's called Knit One, Purl One. Really cute. I love Margaret Sherry's cats and mice. I just think they're adorable. And then because I really loved stitching this. It was the first time I'd stitched a little Dove Designs project. I got another kit from her and it's called Coffee First. That lovely design. And you know, if you come to my channel, you'll know I am very rarely without a cup of coffee in my hand. It's the benefits now of breastfeeding pretty much coming to an end. Just being careful about that. And yeah, it was a tough 2 years cutting out the coffee and not having any whiskey in the winter. That was the hardest part. But yeah, really love these little kits. Just really lovely, beautifully presented, so tidy, so nice. I will actually just check these are all correct though, because I don't want caught out. I love the colour of the fabric as well, isn't it beautiful? Yeah, beautiful. I really like these. I might get a few more of her kits just to have them. They're great. They're manageable. They're not huge, and you can stitch them up relatively quickly because the designs are not overly complicated. There's not horrible shading and stuff to think about. The colours tend to be, you know, block colours. So that is my cross stitch catch up. My first Flosstube. You know, I can't imagine I am the most exciting floss tuber. There are people out there who I don't understand how they can stitch as quick as they stitch. I have no idea how they manage these massive grand scale projects as well. It's just, it defies me. And I think I'd lose the fun if I had to get that serious. I'm not a very serious person outside of my 9 to 5 where I have to be very serious. So yeah, there we are. That's my cross stitching. So today's plan, it's my birthday by the way. So today's plan, I did get the day off work. It's the only day I've got off this month. Even my Fridays that I'm usually not working, I'm working. So today is a real gift and I'm going to treat myself to a few hours sewing time. So little Henry just went into nursery there at 9 o'clock. I'll get him, we'll go for lunch. So I have 4 hours to myself. And then we'll head out, we'll have a little birthday lunch, and then we'll head out later this evening as a family for dinner. So there we are. I will chat to you all soon, hopefully with some dressmaking. For any of you who come here expecting the dressmaking material and the dressmaking content, I do have some fabric sitting here ready to be cut. It needs a little bit of pattern matching, just a little bit. I'm not going to be so fussy about it because I don't think I have enough fabric to match up the side seams, but I'll certainly get the fronts pattern matched and go from there. So lovely to have you here as ever. Hopefully at the weekend I'll have something nice to show you. But until then, if you're not subscribing to this channel already, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, please like it, and then I'll know that it's safe to post about my cross stitching projects. And yeah, I'll catch up with you all soon. Have a good day. Bye.